So if you're trying to figure out how to actually use AI in your business, you are definitely not alone. I mean, there's this feeling, right, that you're missing something, that everyone else has this secret code. But what if there is no code to crack? What if that secret manual everyone's looking for just doesn't exist? Let's dive into that.
Yeah, that's a quote from Wharton professor and AI expert Ethan Mollick. And it hits the nail on the head, right? We're all out here searching for some kind of secret playbook, this perfect set of instructions for using AI. But the simple and honestly kind of terrifying truth, it just isn't there.
And what's so wild about this is that not even the people who built these things, the teams at OpenAI or Google, they don't know the best way for you to use AI in your specific industry. I mean, they've never had to think about how a small business owner in Sierra Leone or a clinic manager in Kenya could use it. Nobody has tested it for your unique challenges. And that means the only person who can write the manual for your work is you.
Okay, so if there's no manual, what are we supposed to do? Well, the answer is something called disciplined experimentation. And look, this isn't just about messing around with it once or twice. This is a proactive, dedicated process of just throwing everything you can at the AI to see what sticks. It's really the only way you're going to map out its capabilities for your own work.
Now, to help guide this experimentation, Mollick gives us a really simple but powerful framework. You can think of these as your starting principles for building a working relationship with AI, what he actually calls co-intelligence. So let's break down what these rules are.
Okay, here they are. First, always invite AI to the table. Basically, just make it a default part of your process. Second, be the human in the loop. Remember, you are the final editor. You're the decision maker. Third, and this one's interesting, treat it like an alien person. So you talk to it conversationally, not like it's a calculator. And fourth, assume this is the worst AI I'll ever use, which is just a great reminder that this technology is only getting better, fast. Okay, let's dive a little deeper into a couple of these.
All right, let's start with rule number 2, because this one is absolutely crucial. See, AI is fantastic at automating that first 80%, the good enough tasks. It can write a decent email, it can draft a standard report, or summarize a document, no problem. But getting from good to great, well, that still needs your expertise. The key here is to figure out what you do better than the AI and just double down on that. Let it handle the grunt work, which frees you up to apply your unique, high-level judgment.
Okay, now for rule number 3. This is where things get a little weird, but trust me, it's incredibly effective. We are so used to interacting with technology using these precise code-like commands, right? But AI, it just doesn't work that way. It was trained on the messy, wonderful chaos of human language, so it actually responds best to human interaction, to conversation, context, even personality. If you give it a persona like you are an expert marketing manager in Delhi, you're giving it the context it needs to get past those generic, totally useless answers.
And this whole conversational approach is so important because of a concept Mollick calls the Jagged Frontier. This is this idea that AI's abilities are, well, they're incredibly uneven and pretty unpredictable. It might be an absolute genius at one task and then a complete failure at another one that seems way simpler.
And this slide just illustrates the point perfectly. I mean, think about this. An AI like GPT-4 can write a flawless Shakespearean sonnet, which is a really complex poetic form, but then it might struggle to write a simple sentence with exactly 25 words. It can come up with a sophisticated market entry strategy, but then fail at basic counting. It's so strange. And this is why that disciplined experimentation we talked about is so critical. It is the only way you can map out these bizarre peaks and valleys for your own needs.
So understanding this jagged frontier is absolutely key, because once you get it, you can tap into one of the most powerful things about modern AI, just how accessible it is. And you know what? This accessibility is turning AI into this incredible equalizer. For decades, big corporations had this huge advantage because they could afford all the expensive high-tech tools. Well, that advantage is basically evaporating.
I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? The most powerful AI models, they're not locked away in the basements of Goldman Sachs or McKinsey anymore. They are out there, publicly available, a lot of the time for free. A startup in Tanzania has access to the exact same cutting-edge tech as a Fortune 500 company. There is no secret, better version hidden away somewhere. This is a truly unique moment in history where the technological playing field has been almost completely leveled.
So, what does all this access actually mean for performance? The data we're seeing is, well, it's stunning. For example, a recent study came up with this number, 40%. What do you think that represents?
So that number comes from a study Mollick did with the Boston Consulting Group. They gave a bunch of consultants a series of realistic business tasks. The group that used GPT-4, with zero special training by the way, saw a 40% improvement in the quality of their work. Not only that, they were also 25% faster and got 12.5% more tasks done overall. Now to put that into perspective for you, when steam power was introduced back in the 1800s, it improved factory performance by about 20%. This is double that. It's a truly transformative leap. Okay, so knowing all of this, that there's no manual, that you have to experiment for yourself, and that the potential gains are just massive, what is the single most important thing you can do right now? Well, it all comes down to one simple commitment.
10 hours. Yep, that's it. 10 hours. That's the rule of thumb for about how long it takes to push past that initial weirdness and frustration of using AI. It's the time you need to spend to really start to get it, to understand its strengths, its weaknesses, and how it can actually fit into your workflow. You just have to push through those first few hours where it feels kind of clunky or it's giving you bad answers.
So how should you spend that time? Look, don't just ask it trivia questions. You got to treat it like a new hire, or even a co-founder. Give it real work. Ask it to draft some marketing emails. Tell it to act as a skeptical customer and poke holes in your latest business idea. Use it to practice for a tough negotiation. When you give it real tasks, you'll start to discover the shape of that jagged frontier for yourself, and you'll do it fast. Because ultimately, AI is not a technology that is just happening to us. It's a tool that we all get to shape. The technology is here, it's accessible to literally everyone, and its capabilities are, well, they're astounding. So the only real question left is the one right here on your screen. What are you going to build with it?